On the news tonight, role of husbands as pillars of homes in focus as world celebrates Father's Day. Serap seeks end to former governors receiving life pensions. Police Service Commission approves new policy on deployment of senior police officers. Now outside Nigeria, African leaders move to end Russian-Ukraine war. Good evening and welcome. Thank you for joining us on the news tonight. My name is Obi Chukwemeka Oti. Father's Day is celebrated worldwide to recognize the contribution and impact of fathers and father figures on the lives of their children. The day celebrates fatherhood and male parenting. In this report, Joy Pius examines the roles of fathers in ensuring an egalitarian society.
Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day.
Although it is celebrated on a variety of dates worldwide, many countries observe Father's Day on the third Sunday in June. The day is aimed at acknowledging a father's love and his sacrifice, which allegedly is often overlooked. Beyond the euphoria of the day, Osrc seeks to unearth the impact of fathers in a country where male prejudice thrives. Regardless of various legislative interventions locally and internationally, patriarchy persists in Nigeria. Men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. There is also the supremacy over the female gender, social, cultural, and political sphere, among others. The traditional setting of families in Nigeria deepens men's dominance, a phenomenon which is believed to be causing grave imbalance and affecting social, political, and economic growth.
This domineering effect is biblical, community-based, and people have been adhering to it. And it has started for a long time on this app. And I can say it's supported by God himself.
If you're a father, you are a leader in the house. You are going to be asked about your wife, your children. Then if you're a wife, you also have a responsibility like you have to do in the house in terms of taking care of your husband's property, your children, and the like. So Islam has given us everything. That the roles as a woman, what's your own role? As a man, what's your own role?
We know that gender inequality is happening in the community, in the society, but it's not supposed to be because we are one. Some people do say that what a man can do, a woman can do better. It is true. The fact that God has made fathers the head of the family does not mean that the women should be treated as servants. But God has made them the assistants, the helpmates for men.
Osrc crew spoke to some citizens of Ondo State on how fathers can help in cleansing the society of the effects of male chauvinism.
We must be a role model to our children, be it a male, be it a female. And there should be no discrimination. We must not build any dichotomy whatsoever in between our children, irrespective of their gender. There should be equality.
There are some times that when they get to a place or at a crossroad where they need what a lady can do, and because they are male, they cannot do it. It will create problem. So it will bring them up as a male and as female, and we teach them equally. It will not create problem for them in future.
Historically, mothers have received more attention, and mothers have more often been characterized as children's primary caregivers, whereas fathers have been characterized as playmates. However, in many countries, gender roles have become more equitable over time, and research now suggests that fathers play more important roles in child development. As the importance of fathers being pillars of the home gains traction globally, the emphasis is that deliberate efforts must be placed on the home front by fathers to foster parity amongst the male and female children for healthier society. Joy Pius, OSRC News.
Nigerians have called on the federal government to be thorough in the implementation of the student loan bill recently signed into law by President Tinubu to forestall failure of the initiative. The reactions to President Bola Tinubu's assent to the student loan bill also includes the call for government not to increase payable school fees at tertiary institutions. Zaid Aribisala has more on the Student Loan Act.
President Bola Tinubu signed the Students' Loan Bill to law following its passage by the National Assembly. The Students' Loan Act is part of efforts to boost the educational pursuit of youths across the country, designed to enable Nigerian students access finance at interest-free rates, but with evidence of being indigent.
It is something that we give support to parents and that we bring relief to indigent students, because the fact remains that the students also are a critical part of the society. I use myself as an example. I didn't get my certificate from the university until 2 years after I left Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agowe. So if I have that opportunity back in 2013, I would have assessed it. The fact that students will have to pay back this loan, which is interest-free, 2 years after NYSC, I think that is commendable.
The development continues to get attention of Nigerians. The Students' Loan Act provides for the creation of a Nigerian education bank with the aim to make education available to all Nigerians.
Students' loans has existed before. The current generations of Nigerian policymakers actually benefited from that kind of arrangement. It used to be 1,000 naira when nobody was paying any school fees at all. But my worry is that how did the old loan came to a halt? It came to a halt as a result of inability to recover from the beneficiaries of that loan. So for this one to survive, there must be a structure in place. The best mode of refund is guaranteed employment after this. After the educational program.
It's very difficult for some students to afford their school fees. Even in tertiary institutions, you can see some students at 311 they drop because they cannot afford their school fees. So it's not everybody that came from wealthy background. So those that came from poor background is an opportunity for them to at least to complete or to pay their school fees.
The Nigerian Education Loan Fund, established under the law, will be managed and administered by various stakeholders, including the Central Bank of Nigeria and commercial banks. The workability as well as the sustainability of the students' loan is what some Nigerians want government to place premium on.
Tinubu is in Abuja. We are the operators, but people who are going to approve this loan at our level, my fear is that we cannot get any operator that can do that work successfully.
The law stipulates a 2-year imprisonment or 500,000 naira fine or both for defaulters and conspirators, with reports also indicating a mechanism for monitoring academic performance, ensuring timely loan repayment and preventing fraudulent practices.
Looking at the bill structure, you see that even it will be very difficult for indigent people who are supposed to be beneficiaries to even access some of the requirements, like the issue of the guarantors. So when you say the loan is for indigent people, how can you be so sure that they'll be able to have access to level 12 public officers and the likes of the other guarantors that are required to meet required to have access to this loan? At the moment, we'll say that Nigerians are enjoying subsidized education. When the government is giving us student loan, what's the assurance that there will not be hike in tuition fee?
Some of the criteria to access the fund include: you must have secured admission into a federal or state university, polytechnic, college of education or vocational school. Your income or your family's income must be less than 500,000 naira per annum or 42,000 naira per month. You must provide 2 guarantors, among others. Zahid Aribisala, OSRC News.
To security now, the Police Service Commission PSC has approved a new policy guidelines for the deployment of management and tactical commanders in the Nigeria Police Force. Head Press and Public Relations Ikechukwu Ani said in a statement that the Commission urged the Nigeria Police Force to be guided by the principle of federal character in both recruitment at all levels and deployment of its personnel at management and tactical levels to ensure balance, equity and fairness in the system. PSC observed that the current deployment of commissioners of police to state commands leaves much to be desired in reflecting the principle of equity and fairness to all geopolitical zones of the country, stressing that the current statistics of such deployments were against the northeast and southeast political zones. In its plenary, the Commission dwelt on Section 6, Subsection E on 7 of the Police Service Commission Act, which empowers it to formulate and implement policies aimed at efficiency and discipline in the Nigeria Police Force. PSC requested henceforth that the deployment of commissioners of police to state commands must ensure that the disadvantaged zones are considered first in the proposals to the Commission. Meanwhile, the Department of State Service, DSS, says it has identified persons and groups planning to stage campaigns of calumny against the government over the suspended central bank governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. The DSS, in a statement through its head of public relations, Mr. Peter Afunaya, claimed that some groups intend to gather at the different points in Abuja and Lagos State in the coming week with placards depicting the service and the government in bad light, as well as calling for the immediate release of Emefiele, while warning those it described as plotters to desist from their plans. The DSS said the arrowheads are already under watch and will be apprehended. Meanwhile, the DSS says it has granted the family of Mr. Emefiele, medical officials and appropriate persons access to the former CBN governor, who is in their custody long before the court order directing the service to do so. To politics now, the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP has urged the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and 13 former governors in the 10th Senate to disclose the total amount of life pensions, if any, that have been received from their states as former governors. In a statement, SERAP Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare urged the new lawmakers to promptly clarify if they have collected and or currently collecting life pensions as former governors from their respective states, to stop collecting any such pensions and return the pensions collected to the Treasury. According to the group, there are 14 former governors in the 10th Senate, and Nigerians expect the former governors to act in the public interest, adding that collecting life pensions as former governors while in the Senate will clearly violate constitutional provisions and amount to taking advantage of entrusted public positions. In the meantime, 7 members of the People's Democratic Party in Imo State have resigned from the party's State Working Committee. The aggrieved party members, including the State Deputy Chairman Martin Ejogwu, accused the PDP governorship candidate Senator Sam Anyanwu of high-handedness, threat to life, intimidation and lack of focus. Speaking in Owerri, the state capital, the former members of the State Working Committee, SWC, said since Anyanwu became the national secretary of the party, he has never relented in deploying the powers of his office to fight members of the State Working Committee. They accused Senator Anyanwu of sponsoring his loyalists to come up with frivolous petitions against the State Working Committee at the national headquarters and always threatening to dissolve the State Working Committee in Imo State at any given time. Speaking on behalf of the other PDP SWC members, Collins Oporozo, who until now was the state publicity secretary of the party, said all the maladies that have lately befallen the party in the state is squarely of the making of Anyanwu. Elsewhere, the Zamfara Police Command says it had returned all vehicles it seized from the former governor of the state, Bello Metawali. The police public relations officer in the state, Yazid Abubakar, said the vehicles were returned in compliance with the order of the Federal High Court in Gusau. The police spokesman said all the vehicles have been returned to the premises of Federal High Court Gusau. On June 15, Justice Aliyu Bapa of the Federal High Court Gusau ordered all security agencies involved in removing the vehicles from Matawali's private homes in Gusau and Maradun to return them within 48 hours. The court also gave an order of interim injunction restraining the respondents in the suit filed by Matawali from taking any further action in connection with the matter. The Sultan of Sokoto and the President General, Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, NSCIA, Alhaji Sahad Abubakar III, has directed Muslims to look out for the new moon of Dhul Hijjah 1444 AH from today. In a statement by the Chairman Advisory Committee on Religious Affairs, Sultanate Council, Sokoto, Professor Sambo Junadu, the Sultan said Dhul Hijjah is the 12th and the last month in the Islamic calendar in which Muslims perform annual pilgrimage and celebrate Eid al-Kabir festival. The Sultan in the statement also prayed to Allah to help all Muslims in the discharge of their religious duty. You're watching the news at 7. We'll go on a break now. When we return, we'll serve you more stories. Please stay with us.
I am happy to be here. I'm blessed to be among. Here, I'm blessed to be among to celebrate Ilea Salah in good health. Thank you, Allah, for keeping me alive.
I am happy to be here. I'm blessed to be among. Happy to be here. I'm blessed to be among to celebrate Ilea Salah in good health. Thank you, Allah, for keeping me alive.
Down Nigeria,
but that is Allah.
I know homes and property.
So came up with Jerusalem.
Adron Homes.
Building cities, communities, and homes.
The words are hard to find, but they're still heavy on my mind tonight. The pain is deep inside, but I still want to hide. Happy birthday!
Is this what you really want to do?
Yes, Dad. That's what I've been trying to show you.
Fight for your dreams the advanced way with Glow LTE Advanced. The power of 3 data networks in one. Get a Glow SIM or dial *301#.
A peak protein breakfast gets you up to a great day. How do I know? Because my daddy goes through his work feeling good and always with a smile. Mommy is always filled with confidence. My sister is always in tune. And for me, learning new things becomes absolute fun. That's because all day and every day, the peak goes on.
Start your day with a Peak Protein Breakfast. Peak. Reach for your peak.
Abwad Multi-System Hospital at Duekiti, best equipped hospital in sub-Saharan Africa, offers the following services at the main hospital and the annexes at Bashuri and Oduado in Aduekiti. Free antenatal registration and consultation for all pregnant women. Free registration, consultation and immunization for children under 5 years. Other services at discounted rate include open heart surgeries, dialysis and kidney transplant, brain, spine and total joint replacement surgeries, correction of deformities, full range dental procedures, out and in patient services, cutting edge MRI and CT scans. For further inquiries, call 081 601 60011, 080 601 86037. Announcer, Chief Medical Director.
Upward, a vision in action.
You're welcome back. You can also watch us live on our website, www.osrc.ng, or follow us on our Facebook page, OSRC TV, and on YouTube, you can subscribe to our channel, OSRC TV Ondo. Now to the rest of the news. In celebration of 10 years of God's faithfulness in ministry, Pastor Oluwatoyosi Ayenigbara has returned praises to the Almighty for the journey so far. At a special Thanksgiving service held at the church's auditorium in Accra, the state capital, Pastor Oluwatoyosi Ayenigbara was eulogized for his steadfastness and dedication to God's work. OSRC's Zaid Aribisala has more.
It's been 10 years of pastoral work for Pastor Oluwatoyosi Ayenigbara in the vineyard of Miracle Ministry opposite Igoba Community High School along Ado Road. Recognizing God's faithfulness in his journey of 10 years and still counting, Pastor Oluwatoyosi Ayenigbara returned praises to the Almighty as he celebrates the milestone. With a celebration themed, "You Are a Chosen Generation," the congregation honored God with songs and dancing, a display of their joy which knows no bound. For Pastor Ayenigbara, whose tutorship began under Prophetess Similolu Ayenigbara, his mother, the journey has been fulfilling, deriving satisfaction from preaching the gospel and guiding people towards God.
Celebrating 10 years in ministry, I give glory to God for his mercy over my life, my ministry, and my family at large. The love from people, most especially the church members, and all my friends globally, I really see the massive love they have for me. I'm praying to God for more power, for more strength and spirit to direct people, to encourage people to pray for people, and to pray for myself, and to pray for Nigeria at large as well, and to make impact to people's life.
Prophetess Ayenigbara described her son as one whose service in God's vineyard has been predestined even before birth.
Inú mi dùn lénìí nítorí pé irú ọjọ́ yìí ni ó ṣojú mi. Ìgbà tí mo ti wà nínú oyún ẹ̀ ni Ọlọ́run ti sọ fún mi pé ìránṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run alààyè ni. Àti mo máa fi bímọ, ó dẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí farahàn.
While the pastor's wife, Mrs. Oyewumi Ayenigbara, is appreciative of God's faithfulness.
The Lord has been there for us. He has been so faithful. He has been helping us. As a pastor's wife, you have to be supportive. You have to be there all the time to support the call, talking about the call of God.
Members of the congregation and guests in attendance, including OSRC's Director of News and Current Affairs, Nika Busari, prayed for God's continuous guidance over the clergyman.
Pastor Oluwatoyosi is a God-fearing somebody. He loved the church member, and everything his life is very, very simple.
We want to encourage Pastor Oluwatoyosi Ayenigbara to keep the good works that he's doing, assisted by his wonderful wife, Oyewumi Ayenigbara, and to believe that God is their pillar. God has always been there for them, and he will continue to be there for them. And I want them to take particular note of this 10th year anniversary. 10 is very significant numerically. We have the 10 commandments, we have the 10 virgins in the Bible. So talk of it, 10 is very significant.
Special prayer was held for the Ayedigbara family as the cutting of the 10th anniversary cake marks the end of service, with confidence that many more years of grace lies ahead. Sahid Aribisala, Osrc News.
Elsewhere, Christians have been admonished to be faithful to the Lord, as no one knows when the end time will come. Pastor Ijo Christopher of the Redeemed Christian Church of God's Salvation Parish, Agbobiri, Arogbo Zonal Headquarters, gave the admonition while speaking at the burial service for Mrs. Cecilia Alabofa Magi in Arogbo. OSRC's reporter Zihimo Ebieme was at the event, and the report is presented from our studio.
The final burial service of late Mrs. Cecilia Alabofa Magi was an eventful one, as dignitaries from all walks of life attended the event. Pastor of the Redeemed Christian Church of God's Salvation Parish, Agbobiri Arogbo Zonal Headquarters, appealed to the children and the congregation to emulate the good virtues of Jesus Christ.
Everything that you are doing, now we try your work to determine which type of work are you doing. Is it good? Is it bad? Is the fire of the Lord that we defend? So no matter what you are doing, no matter who the path that it belongs to, the work of your hand, God will try it with fire.
The church service also featured thanksgiving in honor of the deceased. Thereafter, the remains were buried at her compound, where many people betrayed emotions.
Bye-bye. 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 Goodbye.
Some of the children and family members who spoke with newsmen said Mrs. Cecilia Alabofa Magi did a lot to bring them to limelight.
She's a calm and lovely woman. She's always there she will always be there for you. Through the storms of life, my mom has stood by my side.
She's just an amazing personality that everybody will want to have around.
My mother-in-law is a wonderful woman, very caring and loving. She's always care about people. Whenever they see that one is facing one challenges or the other.
We are very close, and that we anchor same program. That is how Nabaoni Chebra. And by the mercy of God, she's diligent, she's soft-spoken, and she's kind.
Auntie Maggie was a very beautiful, loving, kind, gentle, beautiful person.
There was a night party in her honor where there was enough to drink and eat.
Now, outside Nigeria, a delegation of African leaders has met with Russian President Vladimir Putin in St. Petersburg to lay the groundwork for talks between Kyiv and Moscow. Putin told them Ukraine was responsible for the war continuing.
I want to emphasize once again, we are open to a constructive dialogue with everyone who wants to establish peace on the principles of justice and taking into account the legitimate interests of the parties.
We are here to communicate a very clear message that we would like this war to be ended. We say so because this war is having a negative impact on the African continent, and indeed on many other countries around the world. As a continent, we are being negatively affected in terms of our economies.
На самом деле, реальная...
A real settlement on this issue can begin only if there's a clear winner on the ground, or there's a deadlock. Only in this case can we talk about a third path. And here, the African initiative will have a huge cumulative effect. All the previous initiatives, the Chinese, the African, and the Brazilian, all can together at a certain stage form the basis of a settlement.
Moving on to sports, the 2023-2024 Nigeria Premier League (NPL) season will kick off in August. The Interim Management Committee (IMC) has proposed August 26 as the kickoff date. The season is expected to end in May 2024. Football stakeholders, including club owners, are expected to meet to deliberate on the proposed date after the IMC adopted an abridged format for the 2022-2023 season. The league body is, however, expected to revert to its traditional full season format consisting of 38 games. Enyimba were crowned champions of the NPL for a record 9th time last season. To end the news at 7, here again are the major stories. Emphasis has been laid on the importance of fathers in achieving an egalitarian society as world commemorates Father's Day. We also told you that the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and 13 former governors in the 10th Senate to clarify the collection of life pensions. The Police Service Commission has approved new guidelines for the deployment of commissioners of police to state commands. The PSC noted that the current deployment policy did not reflect the principles of equity and fairness. And lastly, outside Nigeria, we told you that African leaders have met with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, again asking for an end to its invasion on Ukraine. And with that, we round up the news at 7. Thank you for your time. Good evening.